Hi, and welcome to Lesson 2 in my series of lessons on the guitar playing of Willie Johnson, the guy that played behind Howlin' Wolf on the 1950s Sun recordings. One of my favorite parts of Willie Johnson's playing is the way he uses bass rhythms, and I'm going to show you just a bunch of sample rhythms from different Howlin' Wolf songs. And Willie Johnson would mix these in with his chords and single string runs and all that. But I find these very handy to play as like a main rhythm of a song when I'm playing with a harmonica player, or even with another guitar player if I'm playing the second guitar parts. You can do with these whatever you want, but let me just show you some different ideas that you'll hear on the early Howlin' Wolf recordings. First one is from an example from a song called Chocolate Drop, classic Howlin' Wolf tune from the 50s. It's in the key of G, as were most of his tunes, and let me play for it and then we'll break it down. Kind of a simple little rhythm. You could play that and a harmonica player playing and singing behind it, another guitar player, or like Willie Johnson, you could play that and then go into the chords and single string runs and all that. I made a mistake at the beginning. When I started out, I'm playing it, let's just go through the chord progression. Over the one, I want to stay on the bassier notes, the 6th and 5th strings as much as possible. That's what it sounds like he's doing. I accidentally went over to the 5th and 4th strings on the 4. Let's take it from the 1. So it's just, and I'm starting on the 3rd fret of the 6th string. That's my G. The 2nd fret, 5th fret on the 5th string, and then 3rd fret of the 4th string back to the 5th fret of the 5th string. So a real simple little progression there. When I go to the 4, I'm going to take the exact same thing to the 8th fret. Now I played it up here, or down here. I don't think he's doing that. If you listen to the recording, it sounds thick. Then for the 5, we go to the 10th fret of the 6th string, 9th fret, 12th fret on the 5th, 10th fret on the 4th fret, 4th string, 12th fret on the 5th string, 8th fret, 7th to the 10th on the 5th string, 8th fret of the 4th string, 10th fret of the 5th string. That's over the 4 or the C. Then you'll have a turnaround. In Chocolate Drop he does something like something along those lines, but we'll work on turnarounds a little bit later. So there's one bass rhythm. So you got a harp player, you can play. So on. Example number 2, our second bass rhythm. This is from a tune called How Many More Years. In this tune, Willie Johnson is playing a lot of chords and single string runs, and then toward the end of the tune he goes into this bass rhythm behind Wolf's singing and playing. It goes something like this. That's kind of a cool little rhythm. Now he'll do that after playing, and then he'll go into he'll use this sometimes too. So he'll alternate the bass rhythm with his other stuff, which is cool if you're the only guitar player. But if you're a second guitar player, this would be a solid rhythm to lay down for a whole tune. So let's go through it. Again, in the key of G, but this time we're sliding up. So we're going from the 3rd fret of the 6th string. Then I'm going to take my ring finger, really, from the 3rd fret of the 6th, or the 5th fret to the 7th fret of the 6th string. And then I'm going to get the 7th fret of the 5th string and the 5th fret of the 5th string. 5th fret of the 5th string. So. Do the same thing. I guess we could go and do it on the 6th and the 5th frets of the 5th string and 6th string, but I don't think that's what he does. That's kind of hard to do, especially on a guitar like this, so we don't have a lot of room up here. So I'm going to go this time to the 3rd fret of the 5th string, our C, doing the same thing on the 5th and 4th strings, sliding to the 5th fret of the 7th fret of the 5th string, 7th fret of the 4th string, 5th fret of the 4th string. And then for the 5, we start at the D, which is the 5th fret of the 5th string, slide to the 9th fret of the 5th string, 9-7 on the 4th string, walk back down, another cool rhythm. And you can move that into different keys. So if you were an F, I'm sorry, F. If you're an A, it's movable. Really. Third example, number 3. This is from a tune called Highwayman, and in the middle of the song he goes into this bass rhythm after having played 9th chord, single string runs, all that stuff. He goes like this. Very similar to what I played just a little bit ago, the previous example. This time he's going and not sliding. Instead he's going. So basically I'm going from the 3rd fret of the 6th string to the 7th fret, and then twice on the 5th fret of the 5th string and 7th fret of the 5th string. That's it. Then moving it over for the 4 chord to the C. Another cool little bass rhythm. Another example comes from a tune called Come Back Home. And in that tune he gets this really cool bass rhythm going, but then he throws in some fill type licks and a turnaround, which I'll show you as an example of how he mixes the bass runs with some other things. Let me play this for you one time. Botch the ending. He does this. But the idea is the same. So let's walk through this one. Again, we're starting from the G at the 3rd fret of the 6th string. This time we're going to the G, the octave, on the 5th fret of the 4th string. Playing the octave. And then we're going to walk from the 2nd to the 5th fret on the 5th string. 4 for the C. Back to the 1. The 5 is the D. And we're going to get the bass string, the 3rd fret of the 5th string, and he does something like this. Little single string run. So the whole thing. So I'm walking from the 5th fret of the 5th string, 3rd fret of the 4th string, 5th fret of the 4th string, then to the 3rd fret of the 3rd string, and then the 5th fret, 3rd fret on the 3rd string, then 6th fret, 5th fret on the 3rd string, back to the 3rd fret of the 3rd string, so the whole thing. Then I'm going to hammer on the 4th fret, 5th fret of the 4th string. And then he does the turnaround. Something like that. So I'm doing this lick. Actually, we'll come to this a little bit later. And what I'm doing is I'm hammering on the 4th fret of the 3rd string from the 3rd fret of the 3rd string. 2nd, 3rd fret of the 2nd string. 3rd fret, 1st string. 6th fret, 3rd fret on the 2nd string. Then a little bend on the G. It's a 3-finger bend. We'll get into these a little bit later. It winds up on the 3rd fret of the 1st string, which is your G. 3rd fret of the 3rd string. 5th fret of the 5th string, which is your 5. Another example of a cool bass rhythm from the playing of Wilie Johnson is from a Howlin' Wolf tune called In the Mood, or Everybody's in the Mood. And he does this really neat bass rhythm type thing. And let me play it for you. I think I've got this. I'm pretty close if I don't have it exactly. It's more of a boogie-woogie thing. Notice there I hit a bad note, and I think I did that on purpose. I did do that on purpose because that's what I hear in the tune. If you listen real closely to Everybody's in the Mood, it sounds like second time around when he plays this bass thing, he actually goes a little too far. So I'll show you how to play the bad note here. So the basic rhythm is something like this, which is a little different. So he's walking from the 3rd fret of the 6th string, 7th fret, 5th fret of the 5th string, 7th fret, and then he goes to the 5th fret of the 4th string. So the whole thing. And then he goes to the 7th fret of the 6th string, 5th fret of the 5th string, 7th fret of the 5th string. So the whole thing. The same thing on Everything a String Over on the C. Oops, actually this is where he goes into just a straight boogie woogie. One time he does it right. Sounds like something like that. So he's starting on the 5th fret of the 5th string, C, to the 7th fret of the 5th string, 5th fret of the 4th string, 7th fret of the 4th string, 8th fret of the 4th string, back to the 7th, 5th, 7th fret of the 5th string. So the whole thing. sounds like one time he goes around, he does this. He slides to the ninth fret of the 4th string. He gets that note, which doesn't work, but it's in there. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I'm hearing on it. He plays something that fits right in and works. Then on the 5, he's going to this, which is a typical blues thing. You hear this in a lot of different guitarists playing, where he's going to walk through the 5, starting at the 5th fret of the 6th string, 2nd fret of the 5th string, 3rd, 4th, 5th fret of the 5th string, back to the 3rd fret, 2nd fret, 5th fret of the 6th string. Then on the turnaround, when he gets the 5th fret of the 4th string, he can do a turnaround, a 9th chord, or just the chord. We'll get to turnarounds a little bit later. So there's another cool bass idea. And if you listen to the Willie Johnson, his playing on Howlin' Wolf stuff, a lot of times he'll use these bass rhythms. I don't hear any one song where he's playing the same rhythm like through the whole thing. He never just stays on the bass strings. He's always mixing in. Mixing in the chords, mixing in the single string runs, all sorts of things. But the bass rhythms are neat ideas, and you could use those in any way that you wanted to.